Hey guys, Level Cap here and welcome to Devlog number 51 for C-Beams, a spaceship action RPG that we've been building for over 2 years now. And since our last devlog, some wild stuff has happened. Our Steam wishlist have grown from 42,000 people to 78,000 people over the course of about a month and a half. This is absolutely wild. Part of that is due to the last devlog just going viral and getting a lot of attention, but also a huge shout out to Obsidian Ant, who is a sci-fi YouTuber who covers sci-fi games. He gave us a dedicated video and that helped massively, and it's just so cool to see another content creator covering my game. Usually it's the other way around. I'm covering some cool new indie projects. So to be on the receiving end of that is an amazing feeling. And speaking of which, if you want to wishlist the game on Steam, there's a link in the video description and our Discord link if you want to follow the project even closer. And now we're back to the grindstone working on an internal demo sprint, and I got a whole bunch of cool new stuff to show you, from new spaceships to a fleshed out space debris system. We've got some new VFX in the game, new ship input mechanics, new audio work to flesh out our UI, a whole back-end mission logic system, and more. I can't wait to show it off to you guys, and why not start with, of course, my favorite, spaceships. This little guy here is a size 2 highly aggressive combat vessel for the Atlas Navy. The challenge here was to just fit as many weapons on a small size ship as possible and still keep it semi-functional. It's actually got some decently sized cargo bays on the side, and it's really just built for some close quarter aggressive combat. It does have some missile launchers to help with further range targets as needed, and it can either move in fleet operations or even just patrol on its own. The concept for this ship came from one of my very early sketches for C-Beams, just kind of roughing in some general ship design ideas. I tossed this idea over to Kruger, who built out a much better looking rendering of how this ship would integrate to the Atlas fleet, and then Evan Browning modeled the ship, and we made a couple small adjustments here and there just to make the ship fit in a little better. I really like this ship as a complement to just any sort of strike group. It seems like it can fit in with any complement of ships and provide some very useful close quarter coverage. Now, the enemy navy in the game also got their first cruiser-sized vessel. This ship is going to be hard to deal with at just about any range. It's got incredible close quarter engagement capabilities. It's going to have some oversized missile launchers for long range and a size 3 weapon mount on top. Very much a jack of all trades ship that can fit into any fleet complement. Once again, the concept was made by Kruger and modeling by Evan Browning. We then have another size 5 ship entering the game. This is a multi-role ship that can do a little bit of everything when it comes to gameplay. So that would be trading, hauling, combat, maybe a little mining if it wants to. Basically, you can adapt this ship to a lot of different purposes. And we had a lot of fun concepting what a freelance capital class ship might need in a more dangerous area of the universe. Again, Kruger handled the concept art with Evan doing the modeling, and I look forward to modifying this ship down the road, creating some alternate variants of it. Now, last devlog I was showing off some early prototypes of space debris that was mostly still in a white box phase. Here, we've actually finished up our large-scale space debris. It serves a few purposes. One is that it allows us to create literal walls in space as we need to, pathways, lanes, if you will, that can help us control the flow of combat or exploration a bit more in a level. And then we can also set it further back in the environment to create some really fun, engaging background elements. We've also made a bunch of the foreground space debris interactable, so if you smash into it going at high speeds, it'll move through space. Also, currently, collision damage is turned off in case you're wondering why I'm not taking damage for smashing into stuff. That will be turned back on. We're just testing a few things. Now, Will Jeanette, our VFX artist, has been working on some smaller scale VFX that we can use to sell the concept of ship damage. Here, we're using them on derelict ships. We've got a little bit of atmosphere escaping, sparks, flames and smoke, that type of stuff that we can mix together and change the rates of. He built us some nice adaptable systems for that. And as we work our way more towards more interesting ship damage visuals as we progress with that system, we'll be reusing a lot of those effects there as well. Will has also been working on the effects for a shrapnel mine that is not fully functional in-game yet, but the idea being a mine that shoots out little bits of shrapnel debris that you ultimately have to dodge. I think that'll be a bit more fun for gameplay rather than just a pure proximity mine. Now, Prebin, one of our programmers, has been updating his spaceship physics flight model. The physics are now much more realistic than they were before. Collision physics, the way that ships rotate and the mass that they have, feels far more authentic than it used to, and now all collisions and movement in the game just feel better. It's one of those things that's really hard to convey in a video, but makes a big difference once you're actually flying a ship around. We also reworked a bunch of braking controls with a lot of additional logic. One of the fun things about building a game is that you have an idea about how you want the controls to work, then you use those controls and you come up with a better idea for how to implement that. So we've redesigned ship braking to be a little bit more intuitive, but also not lose any of the nuance or functionality from before. Panzer V1, who has been doing the sound effects for C-beams, has given us a whole new batch of new UI sounds that we have hooked up many in the game so far, and I'll give you a little sample of some of the stuff he's working on. Now, last but certainly not least, Rich has been working on the framework for our procedural mission system, which is hooked up directly to the procedural level generation system. Basically, a lot of the game's missions are going to be procedurally generated. These will be things that you can run to build your reputation with certain factions and things to do in between major storyline quests. When you dock at a major station, you'll have a list of contracts to pick from. Some of them may be main storyline or side quests, and some of them may just be your general job board quests. And getting that logic to work has been a lot of work for Rich. We had an early prototype of it a little while ago, but we had to really build out the logic much further so that you could take a mission that says, hey, we need to deliver medical supplies to this outpost. And the mission gives you medical supplies. You have it on your ship. You jump to a level that doesn't exist yet. The game then spawns a level, looks at what type of environmental assets should be in that level, spawns the appropriate ones, and also figures out where the mission destination should be. There's even more logic that we're going to add to this, but Rich has made a huge amount of progress here so that when I take the same mission 2, 3, even 4 times and I jump to the level that it's giving me, each time I'm going to show up at a new level with a new destination location, and it's not going to play the same way that it did before. And elements of this system will be in many parts of the game. Even the permanent levels will still have areas of them that can spawn randomized components, and it's all interconnected. So once we understood what we were going to need, Rich decided to spend the time building it out correctly. And we're using a very robust tag-based system where when we build new assets and points of interest, we can just give them specific tags and they will automatically be integrated to the existing level profiles, and they will be spawned into the game based on the tags and the weighting of those levels. The thing that excites me so much about this system is that it's kind of retroactive, and that if I design a level today, in a year from now, if I'm making new assets and I'm giving them the appropriate tags, those assets could spawn in levels that I made forever ago, and they could spawn in the levels you might play in the first 5 minutes of the game based on the tags I give them. So we can keep adding content and variety to the game through this system in a much easier way rather than having to go back by hand and updating lots of old content. Obviously, we have to test it and make sure it all plays well, but it should be far more scalable and easier for us to handle as a small dev team rather than going back and hand updating every little thing in the game. So as you can see, we've been very busy moving towards our demo goal, and hopefully by next devlog, we will have hit that goal deadline and moved on to basically year 3 of production, which we have a lot of really fun stuff lined up for. I mean, we're getting into the meat and potatoes of actually building out the game world, and it has been fun just to start dipping my toes into that already. Once again, if you guys want to support the project, wishlist us on Steam if you haven't already. It is very much the indie dev currency in this world that we live in. And check us out on Discord if you want more regular updates. The links for that are in the video description. And if you want to catch up on some other devlogs, like our last devlog that really exploded, check the links right here. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.